Hello, test, test, one, two, three. Testing, one, two, three. Okay, welcome back. This is NeXT Intellect Module 3, Lesson 2 on prompt structure, focusing on RTC&O, which is role, task, context, and output. It will teach the core framework for strong prompts. Pathway overview. This lesson teaches the foundational framework for writing effective prompts: role, task, context, and output, RTCO. You'll learn how each component works together to guide AI systems toward producing better, more useful responses. By mastering this four-part structure, you'll be able to communicate clearly with AI tools in any workplace setting, whether you're creating content, analyzing data, or solving problems. The workforce targets: define and identify the four core components of a strong prompt. Construct prompts that assign a clear role to the AI assistant. Write task statements that specify exactly what you want the AI to do. Add relevant context information to guide AI responses toward accurate results. Structure output specifications to request responses in the format that you need. And compare weak and strong prompts to recognize missing elements. Apply the RTCO framework to real workplace scenarios. The key vocabulary for this lesson: role, task, context, output, prompt. Framework: clarity, specificity, AI assistant, response, format, constraint. So think about a time that you asked someone to do a task for you and they misunderstood what you wanted. What type of information might have been missing from your request? Okay, we tell them to go in the other room and bring you like the checkbook. What if there's more than one checkbook in there? Or if it was just go in there and bring me a drink. Okay, is there a water pitcher in the fridge? Are there sodas? Is there juice? Okay, the more specific, the better chance that we'll get what we were needing from asking the favor of the person. The same thing is true with AI, in that if we were to ask it to write about dogs, as we've seen in earlier examples of when it can even what it knows about dogs from its training for like recognition, what if it was going to in text generation to write about dogs? It would probably have a higher prediction of saying animal, maybe likely pet, maybe man's best friend, some of those connections. And if we were just very vague with that, just saying dogs, maybe it doesn't go into like dog shows, okay? Or fictional dogs like Lassie, okay? Now, if we were going to say write about hero dogs, then it might pull from dogs in history that really say people that were real, or that might make the connection to Lassie and like TV shows. TV dogs would put a very high probability that it would talk about, say, Lassie, okay? Or another fictional dog like Wishbone. Imagine telling a classmate to make a poster. You give them the materials, give them some marker, give them the poster, and say, have at it, right? Okay, are they going to just write poster at the top and turn it in? Are they going to put their name on the back? Okay, make me a poster for a certain book. Okay, so say it was Hatchet from, I was an English teacher and that was in junior. If you said make a poster for Hatchet, they still might put Hatchet by Gary Paulson and maybe try to make the poster look like a front cover of a book because it wasn't specific. Or is this supposed to be a storyboard that's going to give the author and the title of the work And is it going to give like overarching themes in it, give a summary of the novel, maybe connecting it to some research that the student did on articles that were based on that novel? Are there any film versions? Is there any stretch activities that someone could do, like survival activities and such? So we see how it would be much better if we were to say, make me a poster, that's an infographic that explains AI ethics for and give like an age group. Okay. And maybe even the size of the poster based on your limited space in a room that you're going to put it up. You need to be able to make sure that it's not too many details on it because it's going to have to be large enough to be seen. So, what's the difference between saying write something or write 3 bullet points about climate change for a high school audience? Same thing as the make a poster, write something. You might literally write the word something to be cheeky about it, but giving more specific directions, write 3 bullet points about climate change, whether AI or a human, they're off to a much better chance, okay? And then giving it an audience, even better for a high school audience. And we see this in our life too. Whenever we receive instructions for number 5 that aren't the clearest, we might have trouble knowing where to start. It could lead to what we turn in might not be what was following the instructions just by the way that we perceived it. Could have bad outcomes that it could affect a grade. It could then that could in turn affect your confidence and everything based on how you were able to turn in an assignment on time and if you were wanting to try to ace it. Okay. So we have to ask for more clear instructions at those times to break it down. The problem is the AI is not asking us right afterwards, wait, is this what you meant by that? So it's even more important that we're specific from the onset and try to guide it the best for it to give an outcome that we are looking for. Prompt structure. Today you will learn the most important skill in working with AI, how to write prompts that actually work. We will cover 4 simple components that go into every strong prompt. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to write clear instructions that get the results you need. So from the beginning, we've been writing prompts. Okay. What are they? Could be an instruction, could even be a question that you write, could be a document that you upload with a little text added to it for a question or instructions that you send to an AI tool. Think of it like a request to a coworker, but you need to be very clear and specific because the AI cannot ask you the follow-up questions. Okay? It's not going to say, come again. So if it infers incorrectly, then it might create something that it thinks with high probability is what and makes a prediction that's not true. And then if you're not a subject expert on exactly what you were looking for, you might rely on the AI or trust it to create exactly what you need and it actually not be best suited for the task. And that would be the human error on that side. Your job is to give AI everything it needs to understand your request the first time. The goal is for you not to have to keep rewriting that prompt, like starting with the weak one and then making it a little better and better. You get into the habit of writing more clear prompts from the get go. The better your prompt, the better your result. So, that 4-part framework was the role, task, context, and output. So, what's the role part? It's telling the AI what position to take, like if it was in a company or mindset. Okay, it might not be a job, might be the mindset of someone or a character to take on. So this could be like being the supervisor or saying being the hiring manager of this software company. Okay, students can even use it though to be a character, such as a fictional character in their studies. Task tells it exactly what to do. Okay? Giving it the task that's clear, just like you would give to a person for them to be able to have everything they need to be able to complete the task. Context, it can't read your mind, so what background does it need to know about the task at hand? Background details about your company, what your goals are, what your maybe company mission, everything, and anything that you can put in without breaking a company policy. You have to follow company policy on AI and what details you could put in. But if it was in general for saying that you're putting together a presentation that needs to be a certain, bring it to output, how formatted. So maybe you're saying you want it to be a certain length. That would be output. So maybe 30 to 40 slides in your presentation, and the context is for you're presenting to stakeholders in your company, and so people that are really going to want to see your progress that you're making, especially ones that have put in dollars into your company, to see is there a reason to keep giving, is there a return on their investment. And if you put all those four parts together, I go back to thinking of the recipe example of like all those ingredients coming together to make a final product, that this would be the ingredients to make the perfect cake. Here would be the perfect prompt. So the role, you're giving a job or a perspective that you want the AI to take on. Imagine you could have Charles Dickens being the one to talk to the student about, say, A Christmas Carol, or even a character within that story, and have Scrooge be able to give his perspective on things. Maybe him looking back on his past ways as he makes a change of heart at the end, and being able to tell the student what all he learned, okay, and what he would do differently if he could go back in time and fix the errors that he had made. Or some jobs in the real world, okay. So it could be taking on the role of a data analyst. What about a teacher, marketing manager, customer service agent, social media expert, and more? By assigning a role, you're telling the AI how to think in the task that you're wanting it to complete, or about a problem that you give it. So without giving it, you tell it to create a poster, and even if you give it how the poster needs to be made and everything that fits the criteria, are you getting it to create an image as if a student were doing it, or is this a marketing person that would probably make something more um, readily available to use for a business? Hey Jessica, how are you? Hey Jessica, good morning. I'm in module three, continuing lesson two and three, so I have the recording going, so I'm just going to keep continuing. Okay. And so while I'm recording, you can put in the chat if you have a question. So having a prompt that you can give it a role, such as you are a hiring manager, is going to think much differently than one that says you are a job candidate. The role shapes everything that comes after. After the role, we have task. Be specific about what you want. Task is the exact action you want the AI to perform. Instead of saying, help me with writing, say, create a 5 sentence job application cover letter, or write 3 product descriptions for winter coats. Help me with writing. Way too vague on what the task is, if this is needed for an assignment for work, or is this just a journal entry? And it would create something completely um, out of the blue for you and not be what you need. So being able to say if this is for creating a cover letter, and the role that that person could take on could be a hiring manager that has seen many resumes and many cover letters, being able to give feedback on yours. The role that could do the task here, 3 product descriptions for winter coats, could be a content writer that's been at like a clothing company. So our task that we're giving it, such as these above, is what is the one main thing I need you to produce. Vague tasks lead to useless results. Specific tasks lead to answers that we can actually use. Then the context is that background, information, and rules that guide the AI toward the right answer. So maybe you include the audience, the industry, such as the previous one, if it was a clothing uh, company industry, is this tech industry? Are there any word limits that need to be met, which goes into the output side if you're telling it to create something that's a certain page length? What the tone needs to be to fit your audience? Are there any examples of similar tasks, such as presentations that you could give to it? Any special requirements? So if you're writing to teenagers, that audience would be much different than adults. So you could say so to tweak whatever the situation is. So say you're building a presentation, it's different for building it for the teenage audience versus the older audience. And then if you need it to be in a certain language, you're telling it that. So it's not going to by default. If you've already been speaking to it in English, maybe you tell it to respond back in Spanish with its output. If you want a tone to be different, so now to be funny rather than serious, you would specify that. We don't want the AI to make wrong assumptions because that's a problem that we see of whenever it thinks that it is and thinks in quotes, it's just making a high probability prediction on what the next word is and the next word after that. So based on what you put in, I think this is what meets the criteria for what Matt is looking for and gives it out. You know, if I was more vague and then the output's that, then it made a wrong assumption, but that was more on me for not giving it a good prompt in the first place. Okay, now if you do your best and give it a good prompt and then the AI, is still making a mistake and doesn't know what you're looking for, that's also when it can have the problem of hallucinating to meet what it's asking, and it might just try to generate something you're looking for, such as a source for a health research journal or article. So there have been cases of even these sources being made up, and you think, oh, there it is, it's in this research, and it just came up with it to have it. And so we definitely have to put our human eyes on anything that AI creates and check for these mistakes, imperfections, and if there's any hallucinations. The output, just how do you want to receive that output? What is the answer supposed to look like from the AI? Do you want it to be a bulleted list, a paragraph, a table, or an outline? Do you want 100 or 1,000 words? Do you want it formatted as code, as an email, or as a script? Being specific about output saves you time because you will not have to reformat the result yourself or reprompt the AI to change the format. So a side by side of the weak versus the strong prompt would look something like weak would be just write about marketing. So it's way too broad, it's vague, and so it could just talk about marketing in general, which probably wouldn't be helpful for you. But if the case were you wanted it to take on the role of a digital marketing manager, you could say you are a digital marketing manager, write a 200-word social media post that promotes a new fitness app to people ages 18 to 25, use an upbeat, friendly tone, and include one emoji. The weak version note could produce almost anything. The strong version tells the AI exactly what to create and create it. And the key difference here is structure. And we would imagine we would get something pretty useful from the strong prompt. And then maybe there are certain things of like the company name for the and what the fitness app's called, things like that that could be added to it. You might want to have for different some of the social media following the way that it's usually formatted. Maybe you tell it, is this for Facebook? Is this for Instagram with this age group? Then if you needed to do one on Facebook for like an older age, you could have a prompt for that and change that range out. Now for putting it all together, so once you have the four parts, role would be you are a customer service representative. Task would be write a response to an angry customer who received a broken product. Context, the company will replace it free of charge and the customer has been loyal for 5 years. Output, write exactly 2 paragraphs in a professional but warm tone. This prompt works because it guides the AI through every decision it needs to make. Why RTCO matters for your career. In any job, the ability to give clear instructions is valuable. Whether you are working with AI, managing a team, or leading a project, you will need to communicate what you want in a way that is easy to understand. The RTCO framework teaches you a skill that works everywhere. So for the guided build, what you will do on your own, a text editor, or we're already in Google with your MS Coding Academy's email, so you're using a Google document, titling it Prompt Building Practice, and think of a simple task that you do quite often, school related, home related, work related. Could be something like organizing your schedule or writing a thank you note, okay, for maybe a gift that you received recently. Then write the role part that you need it to take on, such as maybe you're a high school guidance counselor, and maybe they're helping you build out the schedule for upcoming classes. Task, what exactly do you want it to create? And then context, 2 to 3 sentences of any background information or rules that the AI should follow. And make sure for the output part you describe exactly the way that you want it to be formatted, including length and style. Read your complete prompt out loud is probably, if you don't have someone nearby to do it, with making sure you reread it anyway before you use it to see is it the best for whatever purpose that you are creating the prompt for, and then being able to run it. Okay. Just say make one revision based on feedback if you got feedback for another, or based on running it the first time. If what it gave you you think could be better, you can modify the prompt, put it in a different AI tool, and see what you get. And then you'll save that as your RTCO practice with your name. Then the lab for this lesson, choose a workplace scenario of the following, such as create a job description or drafting a product review. You'll open a new blank document, title it RTCO Framework Exercise for, say, drafting a product review. Create a role section, create the task section, context, and the output. Then read your entire prompt from top to bottom and underline any word that feels vague or unclear. Revise at least 2 parts to make them more specific and detailed. And test your prompt by sharing it with someone, if not, comparing it between the 2 different AI tools when you run it, and see if what it's giving you is what you expected. And you could always make another iteration of using that previous term of changing your prompt up, clarifying anything that needs to be cleared up, and running it again. That will lead you to your portfolio artifact for this lesson. You have your problems that you might face along with their solutions. Be sure to read the best practices for each lesson over your reflection journal. And that completes lesson 2 of module 3. I'm going to stop this recording before starting the next one.